What is up, everybody? It is me with ADHD. Welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 3, I believe. Yes, it's episode 3. Today, I am joined by another YouTuber again. This YouTuber is called ArdeDemHogsDumb, and he is also an ADHD YouTuber and advocate. So, yeah, everybody, welcome.
Greetings, everyone. Hi.
Okay, so first of all, I'm sure everybody's probably wondering, what is up with the name? Adam Hogsdon, where did that come from?
Right. So first of all, thank you so much for having me on, Chris.
Sure.
So the name ArdeDemHogsDumb is basically something that, being as my channel is all about ADHD, I figured it would be fitting if my name kind of resembled that. So first, it's ArdeDemHogsDumb is like an abbreviation for ADHD, first of all, and it's the first thing that basically popped into my ADHD brain when thinking of a YouTube channel.
Nice.
It's like that, yeah.
Well, it's a pretty good one. I like that it's ADHD as well. It's cool.
Thanks, I appreciate that, man.
Yeah. So today we are going to talk about quarantine. I mean, the whole world has been in quarantine for a while now due to the coronavirus, and it's a pretty crazy time. I mean, as far as I've been alive, there's never been anything like this, and it's probably the same for a lot of people. So I think it would be a neat idea to kind of talk about that and see, how everybody's getting on with that. So I've been quarantined now for around 2 months. I went on a trip to the Ukraine at the end of February, and I think from the moment I got back, I was starting in my quarantine. So it's been a while, and it's been pretty bizarre. I mean, how has it been for you?
I mean, it's been interesting. It's
Yep.
been something completely different. I think I have the advantage that I am sort of introverted in a sense, and
Sure.
that's why I can cope with it a bit better. I know extroverts in my friends group, they are having a hard time to say the least. But it's been interesting. I've been able to adapt a few rituals that I usually do to manage my ADHD in a better sense. I'm able to focus more on them because they're like more in the forefront, so to speak. I have to do them every single day. Um, and yeah, it's just been a different time, I think, for everyone, right?
Yeah, it's been so wild, and it's just stressful. I mean, I don't know, how long have you been quarantined for about?
I mean, I live in the UK in London, and
Okay.
obviously, as the world knows, London or the UK was kind of late to respond, but I think America kind of did it at the same time. So I would even say I think we're on the same amount of time here, Chris. I think it's 2 months.
Yeah.
I think I've been quarantined for 2 months now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Hmm.
Um, you were saying about building yourself some routines. I think
Right.
that when I think about it, it's so important for ADHDers to have routines, even though
Hmm.
you could probably agree with me on this that most ADHDers, like 90% of the time, you'll make these plans
Hmm.
and you just won't stick to them because I
Hmm.
mean it's so impossible for you to stay focused on a routine that
Right.
it's really hard. I mean, I myself, so here's how it went for us, right? We started the quarantine, and I have like this big whiteboard that I've used for things in the past on my channel, and we kitted this thing out, right, with a massive like quarantine daily to do kind of thing, right? And it was literally from like 8 a.m., 8:30, 9:30, and it went down the entire day, and we would try and block them in like tasks that we would have to do or times that we would eat so that we kind of keep
Right.
some normalcy. And it lasted about a day and a half. And then but it sat there in the living room for like a week, and
Right.
no, we didn't even look at it. Like it just
Well, that's typical
uh,
ADHD though, isn't it? I mean, you just
yeah.
have this sporadic thought and you're completely motivated for it, and when you realize you have to follow through on it, it just becomes a Hercules task, right? I mean,
It
that's what I also experience. I mean, my channel. So I self-diagnosed my ADHD at the age of 17, and then I started taking medication throughout college.
mhm.
But I've also, I mean, all the hurdles associated with ADHD, I've also had to obviously tackle, such as this motivation thing that you're talking about, being motivated for one thing on the first day and not like knowing what you did the next or what you were like willing to follow through on, etc.
Mhm.
Um, And it's taken me some time, I would say about 4 to 5 years, but consistently I've been able to get more consistent on these things, even though obviously they are still going to be with us. I think there are certain ways that we can work with our brain, so to speak, to use actually our ADHD strengths to our advantage. So it's like kind of also the theme of my channel.
Yeah. In fact, actually, tell me a little bit more about your channel, actually.
Sure. So I started it about 2 years ago, and similar to you, I had this amazing idea of this ADHD channel to kind of motivate people, to kind of show them their advantages, etc. And obviously, I posted 3 videos, and then for a year, nothing, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
just kind of stopped. I've taken it up now again because my partner actually told me to, kind of told me
Oh,
that it's something neat. So yeah,
that's good.
and basically the overall theme is I'm not sure if you're aware of a person called Peter Shankman. He's like an ADHD advocate. He's like a very,
Yes.
very, yeah, he's like a very, very successful businessman
Mm-hmm.
who's been able to actually use ADHD to his advantage. He was kind of my inspiration for the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, and I mean, science, it's basically my channel is based on the science that the ADHD brain, if treated appropriately, can actually be harnessed, so to speak, to really give you what you want. Be it through exercise, boosting your dopamine deficiency levels, you know, um,
Mm-hmm.
just as an example, or going to the job that gives you enough difference, right? So you're not only doing the same thing every single day, but you do,
Mm-hmm.
every single hour you're talking with somebody different. That's important for ADHD. So basically, the overarching theme of my channel is how you can use ADHD to your advantage. I like to call myself an ADHD mentor because I've actually been through all this. I've been able to adapt it to my brain. I have ADHD, so I
Good.
guess that gives credibility to speak on it. But yeah, that's basically my theme.
That's fascinating, actually, really, because well, I mean, I do a very similar thing on my own channel.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
I
And I
speak
really like
to
the channel
like,
as well.
oh, thank you. uh, I speak to like I try to like, whereas you have a lot of scientific kind of knowledge in your videos, I've
Mm,
noticed, which is fantastic. And like, that's what the main things I love about your videos. It's something
thank you.
that I somewhat struggle with because I
Mm,
don't like. I found, so I started out my channel the same. I would do
mm,
like, I would really dive into like these kind of how things work and all that.
right,
And
right.
um I quickly found that it wasn't for me because because I just don't have the temperament, I guess, to
I get that,
to
man.
like go through the research and do all that.
Yeah.
And what I found was the more I did the videos, and the more like my own personality came out, because obviously
Mm,
there was some influence from other YouTubers
mm,
as well. You
mm,
know,
mm, mm,
Jessica
mm.
from How to ADHD is like a big influence on everyone, I
Oh
think.
yeah,
So
definitely. I mean, her TED
like,
talk was so inspiring.
right, and she's very well spoken, and she speaks to a lot of like people who in the field of ADHD, and
Right.
that's really great. But for me, I felt as I kind of branched into my own thing, I started to be more on the emotional side of things, like
Mm,
speaking from my own
right.
feelings on it, and and
Right.
looking at it from a day-to-day perspective almost, and
Right.
almost
Right.
like it's almost half of it was almost like venting to the camera about my ADHD, and
No,
that
but I mean,
people right,
yeah.
go on.
I mean, I
Give,
really like what. Yeah, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you.
no, you go.
No, I just wanted to say that I really like what you do with your channel in the sense that you give people this community to kind of talk about it, and everybody needs to vent, right?
Yeah.
Especially with ADHD.
Yep.
So, I mean, that you vent, you give other people the chance to vent as well. And I mean, I imagine your comment section to be crazy.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty fun. I mean, I
Yeah.
what I love about it, and what I love about the ADHD community in general, is the fact that like you can just like put this out there, and it's like, I don't know, like for me, like, so if I have a day that like I feel like overwhelmed, and
Mm,
that's like a pretty common thing with ADHD, is like, because we have like RSD, which is like, rejection sensitive dysphoria, like it, where you can like feel really like hurt by the thought of rejection and stuff like that.
mm,
It can make you really over emotional. And um I find that like if I decide, right, I'm just going to talk about that, and when I do it, there's like, unbeknownst to me, there's like hundreds of people out there who are
mm,
feeling the exact same way now, and they're like, oh my god, like
Hmm.
it's not just me, and that's what like the best part is. But it is wild. Yeah, people will be throwing comments down in that section, and it's pretty wild. But
No,
I
but I
love
mean,
it. And
talking about it is the first step, right? I mean, I'm completely with that. And once you get to talk about it, you actually realize that there's others like you. And, I mean, at least for me, also talking about things kind of materializes them, if that makes sense. It's
yep,
like before it's this abstract concept in your head, whereas when you put it into words, you're like, wow, this
right.
is real. And other people can relate to it and comment and, give their feelings. And it's obviously just, yeah, it's great, man.
Yeah, I agree. And um, I want to go back a little bit to more
Yeah,
the quarantini stuff, but I
yeah,
want to pepper in. You were mentioning about work, about like
yeah.
finding the right work, and we've both in the past spoken about finding the right work for ADHD.
Right.
Um, how has like working from home? I'm assuming you're working from home now
I
because of
am.
the right.
I am.
How has
Yes.
that been for your ADHD?
Okay, wow. So, I mean, first of all, I have to say that I work in sales, right?
Okay.
And it's actually phone sales.
Okay.
So it's it's already a job which is just adjusted to my ADHD because every single 20, 30 minutes I talk with somebody else. It's something new every single time.
Right.
Um, I actually made a video on the top criteria people with ADHD should regard when looking for a job and like a fast-paced environment, which gives you like different um, environments, so to speak, within that environment. Sorry, a lot of environments there, but
No, you're
um,
right. You're right though.
basic, yeah, basically, sales is a perfect job for me personally because it gives me like difference, right? Always change, and
Hmm.
obviously having to do that at home is very different, right? But I've had to, I mean, I've set up my workplace in a sense that I don't look at anything. I'm not distracted. I've got like my computer, I've got my laptop, and I like kind of structure my day into like or like I would say maybe hourly routines that
Okay.
like keep me motivated, right? So I'm gonna be like from 8 to 9, I'm gonna send these emails. From 9 to 10, I'm gonna have this meeting, and that kind of makes the day a lot more manageable. People
Hmm.
talk about it that these small goals really keep up motivation for people with ADHD.
Hmm.
But that's been one tactic. What about you?
Well, it was a struggle. I can tell you
Yeah,
that from
I
the
believe you.
get-go. Uh, so when the quarantine first started and we just started working from home. Everybody was able to take their computers home, and
Hmm.
I work in photography and videography and editing and
Right.
stuff. So we had a lot of projects that I was editing from home.
Mm,
And there's just like I don't know. So like when I think about the thought of working at home, I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds amazing. I'll be
mm,
able to take it in on my own time and do whatever I need to do. And it was like one day in to doing
mm,
it, and I just like could not stop procrastinating from it all the time. And it's almost because like in a sense, when the quarantine had started, we had been given like a chunk of work to do, right? It wasn't
mm,
the same as like the job I had. It isn't the same, like in your sense of things where you're working in sales. It's
mm,
like you have these calls coming in, or
mm,
you're dealing with something new every day, right?
mm, mm,
Whereas this work is like we would be like, right, we have a couple of months of quarantine. I'm going to give you these three projects. You're
mm,
going to edit them, and then that's it. And it was like, oh my God, your time isn't like set in a sense
mm,
because you're
mm,
just going to
mm,
edit
mm.
when you can edit, and it's
Right,
like you're supposed to be working from 8 to 5 each day or
right.
whatever, and I'm like sat in my living room or in my bedroom just like
Hmm.
I can't focus on this. So I
Right.
found as an ADHDer it was significantly more difficult
Hmm.
to do my job from home than it was to do it in the office. And it's
Mm.
like again, I feel like another reason why is because you have like you're in that work environment, and it's
Yes,
like a
exactly.
different scene. It's a
Yes,
different scene to your home. And
yes.
when you're at work, you going into work, it's almost like it's like setting that routine for you.
Right.
Whereas at home, it's like a totally different. You have your own routine set at home where it's like a lazier routine.
Mm,
So I found
mm,
that difficult.
mm. No, I completely agree with that. And It's funny that you say that because, psychologically, we obviously always associate certain areas with certain things, right? So the work environment is for working, at home is for whatever you do at home, probably watch movies, chill, right?
Right.
And to all of a sudden have your work environment be your home is a huge, like your brain is just telling you what the hell is going on, man, right?
Right.
Especially with
Yeah.
ADHD. And I would
Yep.
also agree with you to the fact that, that basically my work is already dictated by the fact that it's gonna have like change.
Right.
Whereas when you get three big projects, I'd imagine that to be, I mean, just a kind of, I don't know, slap in the face, I guess, in the
Yeah.
beginning,
And
right?
you're looking at the same thing every day. You know what I mean? You're going
Yeah,
back
yeah,
to
yeah.
the same project, and like I'm looking at a timeline in Premiere,
Mm.
a video timeline, and I'm like,
How long is that
and
timeline?
it's long and it's
It's
messy,
long.
and it's like, and I'm like looking at it, and I'm like, it's the same thing as
Yeah,
yesterday and the day
yeah.
before, and I'm like, how can I not be bored of looking at this already? You know?
Right, right, right. No, yeah, I mean, that's ADHD for you. And obviously, I mean, three big projects for anybody, right? That would be a huge task to like
Hmm.
undertake. Um, you know, I mean, if I can, I would give you the advice, to just kind of, I think with ADHD, you have to basically structure it by yourself that day
Hmm.
and kind of take your brain into account and be like, okay, so I don't know, from this to this hour, I'm going to be doing this. Kind of also keep it different. I don't know, maybe like for like that 1 hour you put in the music, for the other one you like, work on the video, something like that, just to kind of accommodate the ADHD.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's going to be a big help, but I'm pretty sure it's going to keep your motivation up maybe a little bit, you
Yeah,
know?
I agree. I think that's great advice. And like I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who are feeling the same as what I felt,
Oh yeah.
are in that position where they're working from home and they may have the same kind of projects and stuff or tasks
Mm,
or and another problem with that for me personally is like it when you're given like a big project, it's like that it's almost like I don't know, ADHD like is so hard to cope with these big un like these big tasks that are
mm,
not split up already, where you
exactly.
have to like organize and split it up yourself and deal with it. Like,
Yeah.
we find it much easier, I think, to deal with small tasks,
Yes.
like lots of small tasks, as
Yes.
opposed to one big one with no structure on it. So,
Completely. Yeah.
it's that was pretty tough, but
Mm,
yeah, I think that working from home was very different for me, and
hmm.
I'm glad that it was working out. It's working out well for you though, and hopefully it's working out well for other people. But
Right.
you know, another thing that I wanted to talk about is now you mentioned to me, so like, uh, just to give you guys a little bit of time difference here, we're actually filming. It's 11 p.m. where I'm at, and it's
I'm so sorry
actually
about that, man.
it,
Yeah.
that's all right. And what time is it where you're at in London?
It's 7:40 a.m. So we're both on kind of just a weird time at the moment. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, right at the end and right at the beginning. But
Exactly.
you, my friend, have already been on your morning run, which is awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we know how important exercise is for an ADHD brain.
Right.
It helps, get the endorphins going. It helps everything,
Oh
and
yeah,
it's
all the happy brain chemicals. Yeah.
right, which is the ones that we're always lacking. So,
Exactly.
that's really great. And how has like your workouts kind of have you always done that, or is that something that you started during quarantine? And I mean, do you agree that it's probably really important that people who are quarantined are working out every day?
So basically, I mean, working out every day is a big thing, right? And not everybody listening to this is gonna be up for that, and I completely get
Right?
that, right? I mean, working out every day, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought the same about 3 years ago, where I went to the gym every other day, right? What happened to me was, I mean, I finished my studies about a year ago. I then moved to the UK, and with that move, I kind of got my morning routine in check because that big
Hmm.
move was just like a psychological thing for me. It was just like, all right, this is a new beginning, a new start, and it was easy to set up new routines, if that
Right.
makes sense,
Hmm.
because of that fact. And yeah, I kind of developed this morning routine, fine-tuned to my ADHD brain, which is exactly as you say, the morning exercise, which gets up your dopamine,
Hmm.
etc., all the happy brain chemicals that you lack, keeping me also just happy throughout the day. I do a run. I do a mindfulness meditation. There's actually been studies on this as well, helping with ADHD. And I mean, I just like read a little bit, right? So that's like my hour, so to speak. And I adapted this 1 hour from an author. He's actually called Robin Sharma. I'm sure some people will know him.
Hmm.
Big motivational speaker. And I kind of found that his morning routine, it's called the 5 a.m. club. So I
Okay.
actually wake up at 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m. to do this. Is really well adjusted to the ADHD brain because again, you have this exercise in the morning, you get like really f***ing happy.
Right.
Sorry for cussing right there.
No, you're good.
Um, and then you'll have your mindfulness meditation, which actually gets you more focused, right? So I actually find that with that in place, especially during this quarantine time, it's a
Right.
lot easier for me to stay motivated and happy and to kind of just take the day as it comes. And I mean, my brain, I can honestly feel it. This is why I did the run in the beginning or before this call as well. It's just, it's a lot more there. You know, I'm a lot more awake and
Hmm.
I'm just ready for the day, basically. And I would encourage anybody with ADHD currently struggling during quarantine to do like, to just kind of wake up in the morning and do a run directly because that way your brain doesn't get to tell you you shouldn't be doing it, if that makes sense. You wake up, you
Yeah.
directly go. A small tip would be go to the bed with your gym clothes on so you have less of an excuse in the morning.
Hmm.
Just try to do it, right? Obviously, not everybody's
Hmm.
going to be up for this, and I completely understand that. And don't feel bad if you're not up for this. But if you are, just try it out and see how you feel after. It's going to be
Hmm.
difficult, you know, for the first couple of weeks. It was really difficult. I mean, it took me 4 to 5 years to actually establish this, right? And only because of
Right.
my move to the UK, I was able to actually really do this consistently.
Hmm.
But just see how you feel, and trust me, that feeling, if you do it consistently enough, is going to make you want to come back to doing it.
Yeah.
At least this was the fact for me, and I now it's been a routine for the last months, and I couldn't imagine my life without it. Even though that kind of sounds melancholic, but um, you know, especially during this quarantine time, it's been a real
Yeah.
help. Yeah.
Yeah, good. I mean, I agree totally with everything you just said. I think that like exercise is massive, and I think that like you're right, it releases like all of the happy chemicals that you need from your
Mhm.
brain, and it makes you feel so motivated. And
Mhm.
I think that like during a time where we're all quarantined, and especially when if you're working from home, like
Mhm.
I find myself like when I spend a lot of time at home, and especially in a time where you're not really allowed to go out much, I
Mhm.
find myself like getting lazier and lazier. And the problem with that is, as an ADHD, my brain gets lazier and
Mhm.
lazier.
Mhm.
And I just find like my concentration span is so small. But
Yeah.
if I get up in the morning and I work out, then I feel immediately motivated to go and do some work. And
Right.
that's like when I was doing those other projects for work, that's what I would find myself doing, trying to go and
Right.
work out before I do it. And so I do not I don't do the same as you. I don't go out and run. I do home workouts. I do
That's cool. I do that as
in
well. Yeah.
yeah, I do a series called Insanity,
Mm.
and it's really tough, but it's very like rewarding. And
Mm.
I used to do that before. The first time I did it, the first time around, I did it like I do the same as you. I'd get up at 5 a.m.
Mm. Wow.
About 5:30, I would get up
Mhm.
actually, and
Mhm.
then but I would have like the t-shirt on that I'm gonna work out in
Mhm.
and the
Nice.
shorts, and then I'd just have to get straight up out of bed and walk into the other room. I
Cool.
would leave my Adderall on the side,
Mhm.
uh, with a bottle ready to go, like a water bottle,
Mhm.
and then I would just literally walk straight from the bedroom into there, put my shoes on, take my Adderall, and then
Mhm.
I'd start my workout.
Mhm.
And the reason why I felt like that was so good was because it would be like 15 minutes into the workout when I'm sweating buckets
Mm.
that's when I'd finally like wake up and realize that I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, I'd be like, damn,
Yeah.
I'm working out,
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
almost like you're not giving yourself the opportunity to say no to working out.
Exactly.
And I think that's
Exactly.
really important because like you said, working out is so important and exercising, especially when you're in such a bad situation as we are now, not just for the
Oh yeah.
fact of being motivated, but it
Mhm.
also can help stave off depression and
Mhm.
anxiety and
Mhm.
like obviously not cure, but it can help with, dealing with that. And
Oh yeah.
I know for a fact that if I'm feeling down and out of sorts, if I do a really intense workout, I feel so much better afterwards.
Oh
So
man. I mean, yeah,
it's
I would
right.
definitely agree with that. And you know, it's just if the workout is so good in a sense because it's not only good for your physical body, but for us, it's especially good for psychologically or for psychological brain, right? For our brain. And I want to reference Peter Shankman on this.
Okay.
I'm sure some people, some of your viewers might know who he is. He's this very not renowned, but in the ADHD community, I think he's pretty well renowned for being quite successful because of his ADHD.
Hmm.
You know, he's very motivational. He's very he's always on like 180. You know, he's always very energetic, and he's got this book titled Faster Than Normal, and I always reference it on my channel. I would definitely encourage your viewers to check it out because he also says that basically he uses that his dopamine deficiency completely to his advantage. Before, like for instance, Zoom meeting calls, he like sprints up and down or just
Really?
like does like a quick run.
Wow.
Yeah, it takes the call, and it's just a lot more motivated, more happy, and
That's
he
interesting.
actually, yeah, he actually also theorizes that people with ADHD, I mean, they can achieve levels of high after an exercise that a normal person couldn't,
Wow.
right? I mean, there's this one weird story where he was in a plane, right, and he was having some dopamine rush, and people were looking at him, as is what he said, and they thought that he was on some kind of drug, and there was this doctor coming up to him, and he was like, "Hey man, are you okay? Do you need some help?" You know, like thinking that he should take him to rehab or something.
Oh
He's like,
my
"Man,
gosh.
I'm just happy right now." Yeah. I mean, this is an extreme example, but
Sure.
I would actually also kind of agree with that. I mean, after exercise, it's a completely different world for me.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah, I have got to. I think I have to read that book myself. This guy sounds pretty interesting. I mean, I've
Go
heard
for
of
it.
him a little bit, but I
Mhm,
definitely haven't read his book. So I think that's
mhm,
what I'm gonna do next. And I will drop that down in my description as well, so that people can see
mhm.
where that's at.
Could I
Um,
actually ask you something,
yeah, yeah,
Chris?
go ahead.
So do you like to read a book or do you prefer the audiobook? What's like your go-to?
You know what? Like, here's the thing, right?
Okay.
I would love to do audiobooks.
Mhm.
Like, I would literally love to be able to do audiobooks.
Right.
I've never been able to do more than a page or two. And that's because I just, it's strange, but like, I can't listen to somebody talking without seeing it. Do you know what I
Right.
mean?
Ah, okay.
Like, there's
Right.
some connection
Okay, fair
loss
enough.
there
Fair enough.
that
Well, that
that
explains your YouTube channel then, I guess, right?
right. Right. I just can't. It can't keep my focus.
Right,
Like, it's so strange. Uh, but I'm also uh hard. Like, I have to have a copy of a book too, and
right.
I'm the sort of person that like um there's something to be said about like physically holding the copy of a book and like
Mm, mm,
turning the
mm.
pages and reading the physical. Like, when I read on a Nook or like a Kindle or anything like that, it just doesn't feel the same, you know? I don't know what it
No, I
is.
completely get that. I mean, I would also want to have a book in my hand, other than, like in comparison to having it on a Kindle or whatever. It's just the feel,
Yeah.
right? It's like this traditional book feel, the book
Yep.
smell, right? It's just like a whole
Yep.
experience. Yeah, I get
It
that.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
But the thing is, the reason for why I asked that question was
mhm.
that basically I have found that audiobooks for me personally, right? Again, everybody's different and ADHD doesn't dictate your personality in
Right.
like every single sense. But I have found for me personally that an audiobook is just a lot better because I'm allowed to not focus 100% on it. You know, like with a book, always like experience some sort of ADHD anxiety, like having to read every single line. Whenever I didn't read like one or two lines, I was like, God damn it, I gotta go back. You know, I
I know
stayed on
that.
one page for
Yeah.
like 10 minutes. You know,
Yeah,
it's
I know
like,
that.
and with an audiobook, you have like kind of the excuse to kind of just do something on the side and just, and I always end up picking up on all the essentials, nevertheless, because obviously you hear it and you know, you can obviously go back again, but I usually don't go back. And I actually just managed to read yeah, I actually managed to read a lot more books in an audiobook setting, if that makes sense. Obviously, I don't
You know
read them,
what?
but I listen
I'm
to
gonna give
them.
it a shot for you. I'm gonna give.
Yeah?
I'm
Oh
gonna
man.
give it another shot,
Oh
man.
man. All right, go for it. Let me know how you do.
Right. Well, uh, that actually moves me on. So, aside from your work and working out, what have you been doing to keep yourself occupied during this quarantine?
Oh, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is making videos. So
Okay.
I've been making a lot more videos. I'm posting once every 2 weeks. I'm probably gonna even post it this week. That have been 3 times in a month, which for me is record breaking because obviously
Nice.
the motivation for making videos is not always there. Typical ADHD, right? Um, But it's yeah. I mean, I'm posting more videos. What else am I doing? I'm doing a lot more workouts. I'm spending a lot of time with my girlfriend. Obviously, when you're cramped together, I'm sure some people of your viewers can also relate.
Yeah.
If you're together, obviously you've got a little bit more room for conflict, but I think you can also use that opportunity to kind of get closer and more intimate and
Hmm.
kind of get to know your partner on different levels. And that's what I've also been doing. We've been together now for a few years.
Good.
Um, yeah, no, it's actually I'm trying to see this crisis as more of like this chance for opportunity rather than kind of this big crisis that has to end because we don't know how long this is going to last, right? And I don't
Yeah.
want to kind of think of it as being, oh my God, this is going to be bad. It's going to last for the next couple of years, which is not psychologically healthy.
Mm.
I'm just trying to basically see the best in it, if that makes
Good for
sense. Yeah.
you.
How about you though?
So, well, I, like the rest of, well, not the rest of, but the majority of the world right now,
Right.
have spent an enormous amount of time in Animal Crossing,
I
for the
saw that video of
Switch.
yours. Yeah, yeah. It
Yeah,
seems to be an addiction of some sort.
dude. Yeah, it feels like it. I feel like I could be on that addiction show, that the one where they do the that they go see them, and what do you call that when you
Oh man,
when
I wish I could help you out right now.
intervention.
Intervention.
Like, sure, I feel
Oh
like
my
I could
God.
be on that, but
Yeah.
it's good though. It's good because
What's so
it
addicting about it? Yeah.
well, it's amazing, really, because like I said in that video that I spoke about it, it's like this, almost like this, like, alternate place to go where it's like routine and everything is a
Mm,
thing. It's almost like living your day life, but you're
mm.
doing it in
But
a
you're
sense where
outside.
you can't do it. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But whereas you can't do that now in real life.
Right.
So, like,
Right.
it's almost like you're living vicariously through it, and it's so, like, it's because everything's tied to the real world clock and everything. It's like
Mm.
you have like these routines, these certain times you want to go on, and this it, and the community has grown so amazing and big that, like, everybody's talking about it on Twitter and
Mm.
Facebook and
Mm.
Instagram and everything, and like
Mm.
people are posting about it. You can go, like, everybody's going to visit each other's towns, selling furniture, doing all these crazy stuff. It's so,
Man, that sounds
and
mad.
like, it is crazy. And I like what you were saying about spending time with your partner and stuff.
Mm. Mm.
My wife is also a very big fan of Animal Crossing, so
Mm.
it was like such a good time for us to be able to bond over like
Nice.
this game together, so we can play it together and hang out
That's so
together.
nice.
And yeah, and it's really refreshing. So,
I
like,
mean, I have to say, yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, you're definitely a step ahead of me there because I've wanted to play a game with my girlfriend as well, but I just haven't gotten to it, man. I mean,
yeah.
I'd imagine that to be quite nice though, right? To kind of share that experience.
It is fun, and like, because we don't, I play a lot of like other games, like more competitive games and stuff. She doesn't
Mm.
really like those sort of things, so it was nice to get this like slow paced game that we can play together. And
Right.
but that's not the shit she doesn't. She's also a big fan of other games. She loves games like the old Mario games and like Donkey Kong games and like
Oh
all these
man.
like platformer old
Yes.
Super Nintendo games. So,
Yes.
like, we break out the old Super Nintendo every now and again, and
So like
like,
Mario Kart.
yeah, like Mario Kart and
Nice.
stuff too. And we just got like there's like a new Streets of Rage game, which is like another
Mm.
platformer game. Like, we just been playing that together, and
You
we
guys
play
are
a
having
lot of
fun,
games.
man. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, it's been really great for that. It's like spending time with each other, because my job,
Right.
like, has always been like so in the way. I do a lot of traveling with it and stuff,
Mm.
so it was real nice to spend some time together. And
Mm.
like,
Mm.
that's
Mm.
basically what we've been doing. I mean, I'd set these goals of things to do. I mean, I did a short-lived obsessions video about how,
Mm.
like, ADHDers have these little mini obsessions with things, like
Mm.
learning something or doing something,
Mm.
and then it's so short-lived because, you could be like obsessed with wanting to learn. Like, I was trying to learn the keyboard, like,
Mm.
obsessed with it for like a month, and that's all
Mm.
you'll hyper focus on it, and that's all you'll
Mhm.
think about.
Mhm.
And then,
Mhm.
like, a month later, it's like that thing never existed. It just
Mm.
disappears from your mind completely. And
Mm.
so, like,
Mhm.
I had been trying somewhat to do a little
Mm.
bit of keyboard still,
Mm.
and then the other thing is obviously making videos. I do feel bad to my subscribers, because I keep promising that I'll be like frequent with my videos and stuff, but they understand. They know that
I mean, yeah,
ADHD
I
is
think exactly. I think your subscribers are all ADHDers, and I think if anything, they understand it way better than other viewers, right?
right. I mean, they probably forget I exist until I post another video anyway.
Let's be honest. Yeah, that's YouTube for
Right.
you. Yeah.
Right. But yeah,
No,
That's
but
really
what,
kind of where we've
yeah,
been.
to what you were saying with like, spending time, etc. I also feel like this time lets you or allows you to be like kind of more grateful to these basic things that you have, like the things that you usually come home to, right? Like
Yeah,
like your partner, your house.
yeah,
Um, and I mean, I said in the beginning that I kind of structure my day with this morning routine where I meditate in the second, like for like 20 minutes and do like this
mhm,
mindfulness meditation. And again, mindfulness meditation or mindfulness exercise has been proven to help with like all of our deficiencies with ADHD, right? So self-regulation, attention, emotional regulation, etc. And it's just like if you just like kind of look around, and I don't want to sound like some like guru right now, but like if you just look around, just be like kind of mindful about your home and like what you have.
right.
I feel like that's gonna make your time at home a lot easier, instead of looking at it as this kind of thing that has to end. Which I get. I'm not like not everybody is thinking that, right? I mean, I think lots of people are actually quite happy right now,
Hmm.
especially like introverts who actually really do prefer staying at home, which is okay to say, right? I mean,
That's true.
I myself am a bit of an introvert and I actually find this time at home quite interesting and quite
Hmm.
nice actually.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah.
yeah, I agree. I think I'm more extroverted than I am introverted.
Mm.
I'm a like, I'm a strange one like that. Like, cause
Yeah, I get
I
that
can
though.
spend a lot of time indoors. I
Right,
can, and I
right.
really like enjoy the fact that like one thing that is I enjoy now is that I get all this time to basically just relax and do what I want to do on my own, like and or by my and there's also, but I don't know. Throughout my entire life, I've always been like I regenerate from talking to people, from being
Hmm.
out there and having fun and
Yeah,
doing
it's
that.
about a
So
balance, right? Totally, yeah.
right, so like I feel like yeah, I don't know. I feel good about it, but I also like
Yeah,
I'm a little bit itching to talk to people and get out there. But
yeah.
I do a lot of that interacting on some
I
games
was
and
gonna
stuff
say,
anyway.
right?
So
I mean, thankfully
yeah,
we live in a time where that interaction is possible, and I completely agree with that. That social interaction does keep you kind of. I mean, it's just a basic human need as well, isn't it? I mean, that you
yeah,
really socialize, get out there. I'm the same, right? I'm
yeah.
completely the same.
Well, there's one thing else I wanted to talk to you about before we wrap this up, and that
Yeah,
is it's off topic, but we had mentioned we were talking about medication, and
yeah.
it's a topic that I always end up talking to everybody about, but
Well, it's a big one,
right, and basically you had been mentioning that you have a different routine to what
right?
I have with my medication. So, I'm the sort of person who I take my medication every day. There are times when I will not take it on a weekend because sometimes I just want to be ADHD Chris and
Right.
just like let it loose. And
Hmm.
also, I really miss coffee. And I can't drink it with my medication
Oh,
because it
you
just
can't? Oh, because it probably just
no.
gets you really hyper, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah,
it like overstimulates me, so
yeah.
I can't really do it. So like I take those times to sit and drink coffee and enjoy just being ADHD, Chris. But yeah,
Mhm.
tell me a little bit more about your experience with medication.
So basically, as I mentioned, I self-diagnosed myself at the age of 17. I went to a
Mhm.
doctor to confirm it. I then was put on medication, and I mean, just like you hear this from everybody else, right? All of a sudden, this big, like, beautiful world opened itself up to me,
Right.
right? I mean, you're focused. I was sitting in the lecture, and I was remembering, like, oh my God, I was listening to like some guy talk about taxes, and I was so interested in it. I was like, what's wrong with me? You know? And
Yeah.
then, like, just over the years, I ended up taking it quite frequently, especially during my university studies to kind of get my thesis going, and now I'm done with that. The thing is with medication, at least for me, the medication that I took was methylphenidate.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you're aware, but it's like this German way of medicating
Yeah.
ADHD.
Hmm.
And I had, and as I'm sure some of the viewers can relate, I always had like some downs after the medication wore off. So I had
Hmm.
like this big spike in the morning, of also just being happy. And then just kind of, towards the end of that medication period, 6 hours or so, it kind of wore off. So I kind of realized that this wasn't a feasible solution for me in the long term.
Okay.
And I kind of this is the reason for why I ended up taking up this YouTube channel actually was because I was looking for natural alternatives for ADHD medication. And I actually found a few ways. So obviously exercise is one. Does not do what the ADHD medication does in itself, obviously, but it gets you
Hmm.
happier and it gets you more motivated, which is one thing that the medication did for me as well. I found that getting enough sleep was really important for me.
Yeah.
I found that, mindfulness meditation, I actually made one on my YouTube channel, like an ADHD mindfulness meditation. That really does help me as well.
Yeah.
And something, I still take medication like once a month, right? If I really, really have to, but I just don't
Okay.
like the effect it has on me in the long term.
Right.
So what I was looking for was like a natural alternative. And what I found was, and you might like this, Chris, because you want to drink your coffee, right?
Right.
Um, there's basically this mix with L-theanine, which is green tea extract.
Okay.
It's like a pill that you can take. It's completely natural. It's just like green tea in a small pill, so to speak,
Okay.
and coffee, which in a natural sense can get you, or at least gets me, very close to the level I would be at when medicated.
That's true.
Right?
I mean, coffee is a stimulant and is actually used by people who like self-medicate.
Right. Right. No, so I mean, the thing is, right, coffee is the stimulant and L-theanine kind of calms you down. So with
Right.
ADHD, it's like the perfect mix. You get calm,
Nice.
but your brain is stimulated. So I mean, anybody who's listening to this right now would obviously really encourage you to try it out because I'm sure, some people, I'm not sure how it is with your medication, Chris, if you also experience these negative side effects. I know not everybody does, but for the people that
I've been lucky with it, or I
yeah,
haven't had many.
good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. I mean, I'm sure for some people, they might have that, and for them, I kind of hope to help them out with this alternative.
Hmm.
And also, I mean, you live in America, right?
Right. Hmm.
In Germany, treating ADHD with medication is not like it's not that common at all.
Right.
I mean, in America, you have like I think figures 5% of people or kids get medicated.
Yeah, it's
Um,
pretty wild.
it's crazy, right? Obviously, that also has to do with the big pharma industry in America and everything. And I'm not saying that this is wrong per se,
Right.
but I want to also kind of shed light on the fact that it's possible to kind of try natural remedies before, enrolling into those drastic ones. I
Yeah, I
have to
agree.
say, yeah, I have to say I'm very glad that I did not get put on Adderall when I was a kid personally,
Hmm.
because it kind of, allowed me to unfold in my own ADHD kind of way.
Right.
Whereas when I am on medication, I don't really feel myself. Again, everybody's different, and I'm sure for some people this was the cure.
Right.
But for me, it wasn't that feasible for the long term.
No, that's understandable, and I like agree with you in a lot of that too.
Mm,
Uh, Coming from England, England is not a place
yeah,
where ADHD is treated with medication a lot.
yeah,
Like I mean, I wasn't even diagnosed until I was out in America.
right.
And yeah, I agree that like while I think that medication is a good treatment,
Mhm,
and I think that absolutely people should use it, I do
definitely.
think that it's the problem. I think in America is it gets thrown at people. Like
Yeah,
it's like, oh, you have ADHD. Oh, here you
yeah,
go. Take
yeah, yeah,
this.
yeah.
You'll be fine. And that's not the case. I think that ADHD is much more than that. And I think
Right.
that there's there's certain symptoms that can be fixed by treating with medication.
Hmm.
Only certain parts of
Hmm.
ADHD. The rest of them have to be learned to be
Hmm.
dealt with.
Hmm.
And I think that some parents might think like, well, I've given him this medication and it's not working because he's still doing this and he's still doing that or she's still
Mm,
doing this. And it's
mm.
like, well, that's because the medication doesn't treat that symptom. And then
Yeah,
they may be inclined to up their dosage or change their medication or this and that. And it can like lead to a whole host of problems. So I think that
yeah.
like more importantly, I think some kind of therapy is
Mm,
more
mm,
important to
mm,
learn how to learn coping mechanisms for
mm,
certain
mm,
symptoms. Like there
mm.
are ways, like we've spoken about tons of them already today.
Yeah, yeah.
Like exercise, how big and important exercise is
It's
as a
massively
treatment,
important.
right? And
Massively.
also, I'm a big advocate for the correct diet is massively important
Oh
for
yeah.
ADHD
Oh yeah. I mean,
because
protein,
like
all the supplements you got to take. Yeah, I mean,
yep,
yeah, yeah, 100%.
it, it's just a fact. It's just
Yeah,
if you eat better, your brain will work better. And I
yeah.
think that like it helps with, there's all these different ways that help with it. And I think that yeah, America does kind of throw the drugs at you, I think a little bit
Mm,
hastily.
mm,
Like
mm,
or they offer that, but they don't offer much else in the way of treatment too.
mm.
So yeah, I
Yeah, I
agree.
mean,
And go on.
yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to say that. I mean, I'm really happy that you see it that way as well. That's literally also kind of the base of what my channel is based on, so to speak. Just kind of this natural way to medicate your ADHD, thrive with it, and actually use it to your advantage. I mean, I take medication once a month when I really have to, and I've also realized that if I just follow my passions, right, so such
Mm-hmm.
as making a video, I'm
Mm-hmm.
actually hyper focused, and I don't need that medication for hours on end. I mean, it's
Yeah.
this big world-renowned hyper focus we're talking about. I
Mm-hmm.
think we talked about it before this thing, right? It's just that
Mm-hmm.
if you really are interested in something and you really do want to do that thing as an ADHD person, you're gonna be engulfed in that, right?
Yep.
At least if you're treating your brain correctly with, as you
Mm-hmm.
said, the right supplements, with exercise, sleep, meditation, and maybe even this green tea or coffee thing that I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
it is possible, at least for me, and I know for some people, ADHD it comes in varying degrees, right? So it's like a normal probability curve, right? So there's people on the left-hand side which have it to like a lesser degree, and on the right-hand side they have like a really high one. And I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
that for some people on the very high scale, only medication works. Actually, I'm not
Right.
sure. I'm not sure if that's the case, but I would think so.
It probably
Um,
helps a lot more.
yeah, it probably does. So I would just say that, at least for me, for maybe I would say I have like moderate ADHD, moderate to high. It has worked. And yeah, it could, if with the right self-discipline and with consistency, which is so difficult to
Yeah.
achieve with ADHD, don't get me wrong, but if you can manage that, I mean, you're just going to be feeling so good about yourself as well. I mean, if you manage
Great.
all that with ADHD,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah. I mean, I would just encourage people to try it out, obviously.
Yeah, you're not the only one because my good friend actually, Haley from Haley's Comment, who was my first podcast episode. I've done other YouTube videos with her in the past. She is an ADHD who also was medicated when she was younger and now is totally free of medication. She uses
That's good.
a variety of other things, including like I think she uses CBDs and
Mm.
a few other things to help treat her ADHD. And yeah, I'm gonna have to try and get you both together on a podcast because that would be a really neat
That would be fun. Yeah, I would love
episode,
that.
right? Yeah.
Sure.
But anyway, that's pretty much all I have time for anyway today. But thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciated you coming on, and I have to tell everybody, please, if you haven't already gone and seen this guy's channel, you should definitely go and see it. I will leave hit the name of his channel right underneath here, and I will also leave it in the description below.
Thanks.
And yeah, and everybody should go check him out because his videos are amazing, and there's animation in them too, which is beyond my level of expertise.
I wouldn't
Uh,
say so. Come on, Chris. I know you've got some animation skills. I mean, thank
I
thank you
don't
so
know.
much for the shout out. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for having me on. I really like what you do with your channel. Like I said, to give like this community platform for people with ADHD to vent and just discuss. And yeah, I would love to be on it again in the future with Haley.
Perfect. Well, I'm gonna set that up, and we can get
Sure.
right on it. But
Cool.
thanks for coming on, man, and stay safe. Keep your routines going. I hope everything goes great for you, man. And
Thank you, man.
yeah, and to all you guys, thanks for listening, and I will see you guys in the next one.